The kitchen at 2 in the morning sounds like a held breath. There's a white rose laid across my cutting board. The petals are wet. The stem is cut at an angle no one in my kitchen would cut. Underneath it, on the back of one of my own recipe cards, is a sentence in my handwriting. You always burn what you love. I have never said those words out loud, not in any kitchen on this earth. I check the back door, locked, walk in, closed. Alarm panel, green, smug. The security feed runs clean for 6 hours, then flickers once around 1:50, like heat off pavement in a cold room. When the flicker passes, the rose is there. I don't call the police. I call the firm I keep on retainer the way other women keep dermatologists.
Someone got into my flagship after lock. They left a white rose. The footage glitches every time it appears.
The line goes quiet, a trained kind of quiet.
We're sending one. He handles problems cameras can't see.
I almost laugh. I pick the knife up again and drop the rose into the stock pot. Add a head of garlic, smashed flat, because anger goes well with allium. He arrives at dusk, and the moment he steps into my kitchen, every line cook turns at once, then pretends they didn't. Chapter 1. The Rose That Wrote Itself. Alarm panel. Green, undisturbed, smug. Dish pit, dry stores, the prep window where the herb runners come in. Nothing. I pull the security feed up on the office monitor and run the last 6 hours. The footage is clean, the kitchen empty, and the cutting board empty. Then somewhere around 1:50, a flicker. A wrong texture in the air over the steel, like heat off pavement, only the kitchen is cold. The flicker passes, the rose is there, no door opened and no lights moved. Just a smudge in the picture, and then the future. I rewind it, I slow it down. The flicker doesn't resolve. It only ever distorts. I do not call the police. And I do not call my manager. I do not call Lena, who has kept my floor from collapsing for 5 years and would come in her pajamas with a tire iron if I asked. I pick up the rose, I walk to the back burner, I drop it into the stock pot, and the petals lift, twist, soften. Veal stock takes a rose like it takes anything. Politely, then completely. I add another head of garlic, smashed under the flat of the knife, because I am angry and because anger goes well with allium. I add a second, the kitchen smells like a dare. In my head, like a TV left on in the next room, my old mentor's voice roars.
You always overcompensate, Bianca.
Shut up, Marcel.
I say out loud to no one. The card I leave on the counter because I want to look at it again in the morning when I am not the kind of woman who burns evidence. Then I change my mind and put it in my coat pocket because I am exactly that kind of woman. I call the security firm, the one I keep on retainer the way other women keep dermatologists.
It's Sable.
Tell me.
Someone got into my flagship after lock. They left a white rose on my cutting board with a card written in my handwriting. The footage glitches every time the rose appears.
The line goes quiet, a bad quiet, trained.
Stay where you are, Chef. Don't touch anything else. We're sending someone.
Send a team. I have prep at 6.
We're sending one. He handles problems cameras can't see.
I almost laugh. I almost say something profane. Instead, I notice that I am breathing again, which means at some point I had stopped, and I do not know how long ago that was. I hang up, I put the knife down, I pick it up again, and the stock pot keeps simmering. The rose, when I finally look, is gone. Chapter 2. The Predator in My Doorway. He arrives at dusk, which I take personally. I am at the pass, doing the menu rewrite I promised the publicist by Friday, when my hostess says,
Chef, there's a man at the front.
Tell the man we open at 6.
He says he was sent.
I look up. He is standing in the doorway with the dying light behind him, and he does not ask permission to enter. He simply waits, very politely, until I realize he is already inside, and that he has been for longer than my eyes accounted for. He is tall, lean, wearing a long, pale gray coat that has never been crumpled. His hair is the color of pale wood, brushed back, slightly waved at the ends like it's been doing that for centuries. The eyes are a cool, narrow gray. He has the kind of face that ought to be on a coin nobody spends.
Chef Sable,
he says. His voice is low and dryly correct, like a man who has read the room without moving his head.
My name is Matthias Ravenel. I was sent by your security firm.
Of course you were.
He inclines his head. He takes one step into the kitchen, and immediately my whole body knows what he is. Not from a story, from the way the air changes around him, the way my line cooks all turn at once, and then pretend not to have turned. I do not love being read. I read him back, and the coat is wool. The boots are old leather, kept the way a soldier keeps a rifle. He wears gloves, gray-brown, and there is a scarf folded over one arm in pale slate, like he hasn't decided whether the night is cold yet. He carries no weapon I can see. He does not need one.
Show me.
It's been cleaned.
Show me anyway.
I show him the cutting board, the stock pot, emptied now, scrubbed, set to dry, the back door, the panel, the camera angle, the office monitor with the looped distortion. He examines the kitchen like a homicide detective examines a body. He does not touch anything. He stops at the prep station where I keep the garlic. Whole heads on twine, roasted cloves cooling on a half sheet, a small porcelain bowl of fresh minced garlic beaded with oil, a confit jar, a little glass cruet of garlic oil, the one I make every Sunday because I do not trust other people's, garlic salt, garlic butter, wrapped tight in parchment, 2 black-skinned heads of black garlic in a clay cup. His jaw tightens. Not much, just enough. I see it the way I see everything in this room. I smile.
Problem?
No.
Liar.
He looks at me. Then properly, there is no pity in it, and there is no flirtation. He looks at me the way he looked at the cutting board. It is one of the more honest looks I have received in a long time.
The person who left this wasn't stopped by locks.
Person?
His eyes move to the monitor, then back to me.
No,
That's less comforting.
it was meant to be.
Try again.
It is old, focused. It did not come for money.
What did it come for?
His gaze rests on me long enough to make my skin tighten.
Your attention.
Helpful.
It will be.
One of my line cooks drops a chef's knife from the magnetic strip behind me. Or almost drops it, the knife slips. I hear the tiny surrender of metal against magnet, the start of gravity. I turn too late. Matthias is already beside the station, though he had been 6 feet away, and the knife is in his gloved hand with the blade caught between 2 fingers. No clatter, no gasp, no chance for the edge to open my prep cook's wrist. The room goes silent. Matthias sets the knife flat on the board, handle toward the cook.
Never catch a falling blade.
My prep cook nods like God has criticized his knife skills. Matthias steps back to where he had been. Not quickly. That would have made sense. He is simply there again, coat settling. I cross my arms. The card with my handwriting is in my coat pocket, and I can feel it like a hot stone against my ribs.
What are you, exactly, Mr. Ravenel?
He considers the question. He could lie, and he doesn't.
The thing people hire when locks stop mattering.
I wait for the punchline. There isn't one.
Then you'd better get used to the smell.
His eyes flick to the garlic and back. Something passes through his face that is not quite expression. The closest word for it is patience. And patience on a man like him is a weapon I have not been trained against.
Chef, I will be in proximity to you until I understand who left that message. I will not interfere with service. I will not interfere with your routines. I will require certain courtesies.
Such as?
That you sleep where I can see the door. That you alter your hours only at my request, not at the request of anyone else. That you tell me immediately when something is wrong.
And in exchange?
You stay alive.
I keep my face flat. I am distantly aware that I am rearranging my hands behind my back so he does not see them shake, and I am irritated to discover they are shaking at all. He turns then, professional, surveying the exits and the windows. The skylight over the past that I have always thought of as romantic and now think of as a whole. His gaze moves across the wall behind me, past the framed first review, past the photo of opening night, past the small black and white photograph I keep half hidden behind the menu binder of a man in chef whites with steel gray eyes and a mouth carved from disapproval. His eyes catch on the photograph, not for long, long enough. He says nothing. But his stillness changes like a held note dropping a half step. I remember that, though I do not know why.
Welcome to Sable. We open at 6.
I say brightly to the rest of the room. He inclines his head again. The garlic, when I check it, has not moved, not yet. Chapter 3. The first night he stayed. He stands at my apartment window like he disapproves of my furniture. The apartment is above the restaurant. Narrow stairs, a single long room, copper pots hung on iron hooks, warm wood floors that creak in the second board from the sink, and a bed so rarely used, the linens always smell like the dryer instead of me. There is one good window. He has chosen it. It is past midnight. Service ran late. I should be asleep, and I am instead cooking. The lie I am working with is that I am hungry. Another lie is that I do not run out of steam easily. Then I take down the garlic, 3 heads, not 1, and start cracking the cloves under my knife flat, with more force than they require. He does not turn from the window. I roast a head whole, drizzled with oil, salted, wrapped. I sweat the chopped cloves in butter until the kitchen smells like every Sunday of my life. I stir minced garlic into a hot pan of olive oil until it perfumes the air enough to fog the windows. Across the room, his hands flex once at his sides. I keep going. I make a pasta I have made 100 times and a sauce I could make in my sleep. Brown butter, anchovy, lemon, garlic, parsley. Pepper that hits the back of the throat. I taste, adjust, taste again, and out of the corner of my eye I watch him. His eyes are watering, just slightly. He has not moved to wipe them. His left hand is resting flat on the windowsill, and the fingers have begun a fine, controlled tremor. He is suppressing the way a man suppresses a shiver in a board meeting. He does not leave. I wait for him to ask me to stop. I am rehearsing the response. This is my kitchen. This is my routine. You said you would not interfere. And he does not ask. He stands at the window like a man holding a wound closed with his own hand. I lift the pasta. I plate 2 bowls because I am performing now, and not for him. For myself. I set one on the counter with a fork. I say,
Eat or don't?
He turns his head. He looks at the bowl the way you look at something that almost killed you in childhood.
Thank you. No.
I eat at the counter and do not invite him to sit. His silence is more careful than sulking. It is the silence of a man counting his own breaths. After a while I say,
Garlic.
Yes.
Why?
He considers. He does not perform the consideration, and it looks like remembering.
It does not kill me. It makes me remember what it felt like to be human.
I put my fork down. I had a whole speech ready, and about my kitchen, about how he could stand in the hall if it bothered him, about how the smell would be worse tomorrow because I had a tasting menu to develop. I had been sharpening the speech all evening. The speech goes flat in my mouth.
Oh.
He watches me with that careful face. There is no manipulation in it. He has not said it to make me stop. He has answered me because I asked. I do not cook anything else with garlic that night. I pretend it is because I have run out. I pretend it is because I am tired. I pretend it is because I am going to bed, which I do, in clothes on top of the blanket, in a room he has been told he can watch the door of. Sleep does not come. I listen to him not move. In the morning on the counter where I left nothing the night before, there is 1 clove of garlic. 1. It is from my own supply, from the braid I keep hung by the window because the light is pretty there. He has moved it. He has set it carefully on a saucer near the sink, in shadow, where the morning will not reach it, and the oil in the head will not break, and the clove will not soften before its time. He has, on his way out of my room, protected an ingredient that hurts him. I stand at the counter for a long time holding the saucer, and the floor of my chest goes slightly soft. The lie for that is coffee. I have not had any. I add the clove to the day's mise en place. I do not say anything about it when he comes back through the door. He does not say anything either. Chapter 4. The Sabotage That Knew My Hands. The walk-in is the temperature of an open grave. I know the moment I step in. The frost on the back wall has been disturbed. The hooks where the dry-aged ribeyes hang are all wrong by inches. The neat plastic-wrapped pints of sauces lined up by service date have been shuffled, not knocked, shuffled by hands that knew the order and changed it just enough to look like accident. My sauces are dead. The bordelaise has broken. The demi-glace has split into oil and protein, the way it would if someone had let it freeze and thaw and freeze again. The bechamel I made for the Tuesday tasting has curdled into a science experiment. The salt cure on the cured trout has been peeled back and replaced wrong. Whoever did this knows where the seams are. Whoever did this is a cook, and then I see the beef and the middle ribeye, the one I would have used on Friday. There is a message carved into the surface, into the meat, in clean, precise strokes that have respected the grain. You taught me everything. Now I'll teach you. And I stop breathing. Not because I am afraid, because the cut of meat I am looking at is the one I would have used on Friday for a dish that has never been on a single one of my menus. A dish I made exactly twice, both times for the same person, a man who hated garlic, and Marcel's dish. There is no version of me that wrote that recipe down. There is no person alive who I would have told. I have made it for him in his kitchen, off book, the year he was deciding whether I was worth keeping. I made it once again on the night he told me I would never be enough to open my own restaurant. Then I made it never, and no one in this city should know its name. My vision goes very narrow, the freezer hums. My breath is leaving my mouth in a thick, cold rope. Matthias is behind me before I register him moving. He must have come down the stairs the moment my breathing changed, which means he was listening for it. He stops just inside the freezer door, and his eyes go to the carving, and his whole body changes. He has seen this work before. I see him recognize it. I see him decide not to say so.
Out.
Chef.
Out of the freezer. I want to think.
He goes. I follow him and shut the door behind me and lean against it because my legs need a wall. He is standing in the middle of my kitchen in a clean coat, very still.
You knew that handwriting.
Not the handwriting.
The cut. The carving. The way the strokes follow the grain.
His mouth tightens.
Bianca.
You recognized it.
I knew someone who carved like that.
The sentence drops between us, small, rotten.
Someone.
He closes his eyes for half a second. When he opens them, the careful face is back.
I cannot tell you more.
Cannot or will not.
The distinction does not matter to your safety.
It matters to me.
Bianca.
Don't Bianca me. Not in my own kitchen. You either tell me what you saw or you get out and you stay out. I will hire a Rottweiler. I will hire 3. I will cook for the Rottweilers.
He looks at me. He almost smiles, and he doesn't.
I was hired to keep you alive. My past was not part of the contract.
Then you were hired wrong.
I throw a sauté pan at his head. I do not mean to. I find one in my hand, and the next thing it is across the room, spinning, and I am still angry enough to want it to land. He catches it without looking. He sets it on the counter. He does not flinch, and he does not raise his voice. He turns and goes upstairs because I told him to, and because he respects, in some old way he has not explained, the geography of a kitchen. I stand alone with my dead sauces and my carved beef, and my hands shaking on the steel. The stalker has been in my career, not just my kitchen. They have been studying me longer than I knew. I missed it. The thing I am proudest of, my watching, my reading of every room I walk into, failed me. It is the failure that frightens me more than the meat. I cook through the rest of the day on autopilot. I do not put the dish on the menu. I do not make the dish at all. I put the carved beef into a black trash bag, and I throw it in the dumpster myself, like a body, and I tell my staff the freezer compressor failed, and our insurance will cover it. That night, I do not invite Matthias back into my apartment. I do not need to. He is already at the window. I do not speak to him for the rest of the evening. He does not require speaking. Before I sleep, pretend to sleep, I notice the photograph. The black and white one of Marcel, the smaller copy I keep upstairs, though I hate myself for it, has been turned face down on the little shelf by the door. I know I did not do it. Matthias's eyes moved to the shelf once, then away. He saw it too. Chapter 5. The Cruelty I Chose. The night that breaks me does not start with a fight. It starts with him saying something kind. It is past 1. The kitchen downstairs has been closed for hours. The apartment smells faintly of garlic from the day before, because I am incapable of leaving a kitchen without it. He is standing, so, of course, at the window. I have been pacing. I am furious, and I have been furious all day. I am furious that I have a stalker. I am furious that the stalker knew Marcel's recipe. I am furious that I am furious. That fear has learned the trick of dressing itself as anger and walking around in my coat.
You knew the carving style.
I told you I would not.
It's been 4 days, Matthias. 4. I have a creature carving love notes into my ribeyes, and you are giving me I cannot tell you?
I am protecting you.
You are protecting yourself.
He goes still, of course he does.
I am here because you are not collateral.
He says it slowly. I do not want to hear that. I particularly do not want to hear that. The sentence lands somewhere inside me where I keep things that hurt to want. And I want it, and I cannot have it.
Don't.
You are not random.
Don't.
You are the thing.
Don't.
I turn, I open the cupboard. I take down the small glass cruet of garlic oil. The Sunday oil, the one I make myself. The one that has been sitting on this counter for 3 days, while he stood at the window pretending it wasn't there. I uncap it, his head turns, not all the way, just enough. I walk across the room with the cruet. I hold it out toward him at chest height. The smell unspools into the air between us, sharp and warm, and his eyes water immediately, and I see his hands go very still at his sides because he is using them to keep from moving. He does not step back. I want him to step back. I want him to step back so badly I can taste it. If he steps back, I am still the woman in this room with a kitchen and a knife. If he steps back, I am protecting myself. If he steps back, this is self-defense. He stays where he is. I keep the cruet there. The seconds get long, and his breathing changes. There is a fine sheen along his hairline that I have never seen before. His mouth has thinned. His eyes are red along the inner corners. He absorbs it. He lets it land. He does not lift a hand to take it from me. He does not even tell me to stop. I see myself in his eyes. I am very small in there. I am holding a weapon a child made. I am the woman Marcel built. I lower the cruet. I cap it, and I do not slam it. I set it carefully on the counter, the way he set the clove on the saucer, and I cannot look at him. I cannot apologize. The word will not come up my throat. The word is somewhere underneath my sternum, where I have buried a lot of words with it. He remains. That is worse. If he had walked out, I could have been the woman who chased him out. I could have stood at this counter and told myself I had won something. He stays. He goes back to the window. He does not turn his back to me exactly, but he gives me the courtesy of looking away. I go into the next room. I sit on the floor against the bed because the bed is too kind. I look at the photograph of Marcel on the shelf through the doorway, face down now, and somehow he is worse that way. He does not even need eyes to be disappointed. I just did what he would have done. I do not sleep that night. I sit on the floor until the radiator hisses through its hour. In the other room, Matthias is still standing at the window, and I can hear him breathing, and I have never been so glad and so ashamed to hear another person breathe. Chapter 6. The night I cooked for him. I find him in my kitchen at 3 a.m. doing nothing. He is not at the window. He is leaning against the wall by the stove with his hands in the pockets of his coat, and he is looking at the burners as if trying to remember why fire is useful. He looks tired in a way I did not know an immortal could look tired. His eyes are still red at the corners. The skin beneath them is faintly raw, as if the oil I held up to him hours ago had reached further than his face. When he notices me notice, he looks away. His right hand trembles once inside the pocket of his coat before he stills it. There it is, my shame with a body on it.
When did you last eat something that wasn't blood?
He takes a breath that scrapes a little.
Centuries.
I do not ask which century. I do not want a number. I want him to stop being a category and be a person standing in my kitchen for 1 full minute, even if it costs me.
Sit.
He sits. I have a tall counter stool with a leather seat, and he settles onto it like a man being introduced to a chair for the first time. I cook with no garlic. I do not think about it too hard. I do not want to make it a ceremony. I melt good butter in the smaller of my 2 pans. I crack 2 eggs into a bowl and beat them with a fork until they are pale yellow. I add salt. I cut a slice of yesterday's bread into a thick square and toast it in butter on the other burner, and I let the eggs slip in at low heat and lift gently in folds while I tear chives, not garlic chives, into the pan at the last second. I plate it, not for camera, not for anyone watching. The eggs in a pale gold heap, the toast under, crisp at the edges, a small flake of salt, a grind of pepper I do for the sound it makes more than the taste. I slide it across the counter to him. He looks at the plate the way a man looks at a knife being handed to him hilt first.
8.
He picks up the fork, he cuts into the eggs, and he lifts a small bite. He puts it in his mouth, and I watch his eyes close. It is not theatrical. It is not a moan. It is something much smaller and much worse. His eyelids drop. His shoulders unwind by 1/2 inch. His hands on the counter settle. He takes a long, slow breath in through his nose and out, and then he sits very still with the fork halfway down, and I realize he has stopped because he cannot remember what to do next. I take the fork out of his hand. I cut another small bite. I lift it, and he watches me. I do not put it in his mouth. That would be a story I am not telling. But I hold it where he can take it from the fork himself, and he does slowly, and I do this a few more times until the eggs are gone, and the toast, and a small smear of butter at the edge of the plate that he runs his fingertip through and looks at like a relic. Neither of us speaks for a long time after.
I forgot. Food could taste like this.
He says it finally. His voice is lower than usual.
You forgot a lot of things.
I had to.
I do not ask him to explain. I do not need him to. I pour him a glass of red wine I have been saving for nothing in particular. I know he cannot drink it. I pour it anyway. I set it in front of him. He picks it up. He does not raise it to his mouth. He does not put it down. He holds it. The candlelight from the stove hood goes through it and lays a small red shadow on the counter near his hand. I stand at my counter, in my kitchen, in front of a vampire holding a glass of wine he cannot drink, and I think, oh, I am in trouble. I do not say it, and he does not say anything. An hour later, when I get up to wash the pan, he has not moved. The wine is still in his hand. The shadow on the counter is exactly where it was. I wash the pan, I put it on the rack. I go past him without touching him, and I go to bed, and I sleep this time. Not well, but I sleep and the door is open. Near dawn, I wake to the soft crack of glass, not the wine glass that is still in his hand. From below us, from the alley, comes a tiny sound like a bottle being set down too carefully. Matthias is at the door before I sit up.
Stay here.
By the time I blink, he is gone. Chapter 7. The Wound Beneath the Garlic. There is nothing in the alley when he returns. That is what he says. There is, however, a wet footprint on the back stair that smells faintly of roses when I crouch too close. Matthias sees me smell it. He closes his eyes, just once, the way a tired man might in prayer. He does not explain. By service that night, I have decided not to beg him for answers again. This decision lasts 4 hours, which is generous for me. The office is quiet after a long service the way a battlefield is quiet after a battle. The line is breaking down. The dish pit is roaring softly in the distance, and I am at my desk with the door cracked, a glass of wine in my hand, and the photograph in front of me. The original photograph, the one from the wall downstairs. I do not usually let myself look at it directly. He is standing in his whites, arms crossed, mouth set, eyes like cold water. He is not smiling. He never smiled in pictures, and he thought it cheapened the trade. The paper around his face has yellowed at the corners. The frame is plain. I bought it the week he told me I would never be good enough to do this on my own. Matthias appears in the doorway without knocking. He often does. I no longer flinch. He sees the photograph and he waits. He has been waiting for this picture, I realize, since the first night he came into my kitchen.
Who is he?
My mentor, Marcel.
I take a sip of the wine.
He taught me everything. He taught me how to season a stock and how to lay a fish on a flame. He taught me what it sounded like when service was clean. He taught me how to walk into a kitchen and own it before anyone said my name.
And?
And he told me, on the night I told him I was opening my own place, that I would never be good enough to build a restaurant without him. He thought I was too loud. He thought I overcompensated.
I am holding a clove of garlic. I do not remember picking it up. It was on the desk because I had been sorting tomorrow's prep list, and I always put a clove on a pile of paper to weight it. My fingers have closed around it without instruction.
He hated garlic. He thought it was vulgar, loud, impossible to control. He banned it in his house. He said cooks who relied on it were hiding.
I look at the clove in my hand.
I started using it the day I opened my place. I have not stopped since. I put it in everything. I make my own oil every Sunday. I built a whole brand on a thing he hated, and I never asked myself why.
I set the clove on the desk.
It was never about the taste. It was about him.
I have said it, the sentence is in the room. I do not say it for Matthias. I say it for me, into a glass of wine, in front of a photograph of a man who is not here to argue. I wait for it to feel like surrender. It does not. It feels like setting a heavy pot down at the end of a shift. Matthias stays against the doorframe. His face has the careful quiet I have learned to read. He is not pitying me. He is not pretending to understand. He is letting the sentence stay said. Then he asks,
If he walked in now, what would you cook him?
The question is so sharp and plain that for a second I hate him.
Nothing.
His eyes remain on me.
Liar.
I laugh once. It has no humor in it.
I'd make him the dish, the one from the ribeye, the one he loved. I'd make it perfectly. I'd make him admit it.
And after?
I'd throw him out.
Would you?
The old anger rises so fast it almost feels good.
Careful.
I am.
No. You're being a man in a doorway asking questions you think are brave.
His mouth tightens, and for the first time he has no elegant answer ready. Good. Then his gaze drops to the garlic clove on my desk.
Did using it make you free, or did it keep him at every table?
I look away first. Outside, through the narrow office window, a figure passes on the opposite sidewalk. Pale copper hair, a coat the color of dust and rose. I see it only reflected in the glass over Marcel's face, gone before I turn.
Bianca.
What?
His attention is on the window now. All of him has changed. The room seems to grow colder around his stillness.
Did you see someone?
I look at the empty street. I look at Marcel's photograph. I look at Matthias, who is still waiting for me to come to him with the truth.
No.
The first lie sits badly in my mouth. I pour a second glass. I push it across the desk toward him. He picks it up. He does not drink. He holds it the way he held the first one. The lamp on my desk catches the wine and lays a red coin on the back of his glove. I do not ask why he keeps doing it. I think, maybe, I know. An hour later, I look up from the prep list, and he is still in the doorway, still holding the glass. But the rhythm of the night has changed. He is listening past the building, past the street, and past things I cannot hear. The clove of garlic stays on my desk all night. In the morning, when I come back, someone has moved it onto a small saucer in shadow, where the morning light from the high window cannot reach it. The restaurant is still standing. The photograph is still on the wall. I am, for the first time in maybe 10 years, not hungry. Chapter 8. The Creature That Knew My Name. The alley smells like rain and old fryer oil, and the dumpster nobody ever empties on time. I have stepped out for 2 minutes. 2. I have a ticket in my hand for tomorrow's seafood order, and the back door card key in my pocket, and a knife in my apron because I always have a knife in my apron. The night is wet. The streetlight is buzzing. I lean against the brick to breathe because service was hard, and because Lena has been trained not to need me for a span of 3 full minutes if I take them rarely. Something in the dumpster shifts. It is not a rat, and I have heard rats. This is bigger and quieter and more deliberate. The lid of the dumpster rises and resettles, and a shape unfolds from behind it that is the wrong shape for a person. It is wearing a piece of my chef's whites, a sleeve torn with the embroidery at the cuff I order from the same place every season, the bone white I have used for 10 years. The piece is on its arm, which is too long, and ends in fingers that are also too long, and a face that is something like a human face, the way a mask is like a face. It says my name. It says it the way a child says a word they have just learned.
Bianca.
Slow, careful, and pleased with itself. Then it says,
You always burn what you love.
the phrase from the card, in my own cadence. I have my knife out before I have decided to have it out. My back is against the brick. I am breathing through my nose. Fear is. There is a shift in the air to my left. The streetlight stutters. Matthias is there, not walking there. What happens next is faster than I can narrate. There are flashes, a coat moving, and a line of motion. A sound the creature makes, something between a scream and a swallow, and the wet smack of impact against brick. The creature comes apart, not theatrically, efficiently. Matthias does not say anything. He does not pose. He moves the way a knife moves through a fish you have known how to cut for 20 years. When it is over, the creature is on the wet pavement in pieces I am not going to inventory, and Matthias is standing over it with blood on his gloves and on his coat and on his jaw. His hair has come loose. It is the first time I have seen his hair in any state but ordered. He looks down at the body, and then he looks up at me, and his eyes are still calm. He crosses to me. He does not check the alley first. He checks me. He turns my wrists over in his hands, looks at my throat, my shoulders, my hands. Only when he has satisfied himself that I am not bleeding does he glance down at his own ribs, where there is a tear in the gray wool, from collar to hip, dark wet under the fabric, ribs cracked or worse.
I'm fine.
I say it even though he is the one who isn't. He nods. He looks back down at the creature. He sees the sleeve. He sees it before I let myself see it, and something passes through his face that is, for the first time, not fully controlled. Then it is we get inside. Lena is at the back door, white as paper, holding the heavy rolling pin she keeps under the host stand and pretends is for pastry. I tell her to close the kitchen, and she does without asking, which is the first time in 5 years I have given her an order she did not push back on. Upstairs, Matthias stands in the bathroom doorway while I run cold water over my own hands that are not bleeding because I have to do something with them.
It said my name.
Yes.
It said my line.
Yes.
It was wearing my whites.
He presses one hand briefly to his ribs. Blood slips between his fingers and disappears into the ruined wool.
It was wearing my whites, Matthias.
His jaw works once, nothing comes out. I turn off the water, and I do not look at him.
Go.
Bianca.
Go downstairs. Sleep on the line. Sleep in the dish pit. Sleep wherever you sleep. Not up here, not tonight.
Bianca.
I cannot have you in this room right now. I am not afraid of you.
I turn, I look at him. His coat is ruined, his jaw is splattered, and his hair is in his face. There is a part of me, not small, that wants to take the corner of a clean towel and clean him up myself. That is exactly the part I do not trust.
I am afraid of how much I want you to stay. Get out.
He does not slam the door. He closes it as if it were a piece of bone china. I lock it, I lock the deadbolt, I lock the chain, and I leave the third lock untouched. My hand hovers over it for a long second. I had it installed last summer for no reason I could explain at the time. Tonight I can explain it perfectly, and I still do not turn it. I stand at the door with my forehead against the wood, and I can hear him breathing on the other side. He has not gone downstairs. He has not gone anywhere. He is sitting by the sound of it on the top step. He stays there all night. I do not open the door, and I do not sleep. Chapter 9. The night my kitchen burned. I smell the fire before I see it. It is just past 4 in the morning, and Matthias is hammering on my apartment door with a violence I did not know he had in him, and I open the door because I have to, and the smoke is already up the stairs. He gets me out. The chain breaks under his hand like thread. The deadbolt comes out of the frame with a sound I feel in my teeth. If I had turned the third lock, I think I would have died there. I do not remember the staircase. I remember the alley. I remember the heat on the brick. I remember standing barefoot in a coat I grabbed without thinking, and watching the windows of my flagship blow out one by one in clean, small pops, like champagne being opened by a careless waiter. Matthias wraps the pale slate scarf around my shoulders before I realize I am shaking. It smells faintly of ash already, and cold wool, and him. The fire is fast. Restaurant fires are fast. The hood vents work like chimneys, and the dry stores go like a chimney too, and the building is old, and the building burns. Earlier that day, the magazine had posted the interview I should never have given. Chef Bianca Sable on starting over. After threats, I don't close for ghosts. I had laughed when Lena sent me the screenshot. I am not laughing now. I watch the front of the house collapse inward. I watch my pass go. I watch the steel hood twist in the heat. I watch the little red awning I argued about with the contractor. Too red, Bianca. It's the right red, Sam. Peel and char and float upward in pieces of light. Lena is somewhere behind me, holding both my elbows. Matthias is somewhere beside me. The sirens come and the hoses go up, and the men in the suits do their work, and I do not move. I do not say anything. I am, for some reason, mentally going through the inventory of the walk-in and trying to figure out what I had that wasn't insured. Then I remember the small saucer upstairs. The clove will be gone, the Sunday oil, and the copper pots. The old apron with Lena's wine stain on the hem from opening week. I put my hand over my mouth, not because I am going to cry, but because one sound tries to get out, and I do not want anyone to hear what shape it has. Lena hears anyway. She squeezes my elbows harder. When the firefighters say I can go in, I go in. The roof is open in places, the ceiling is on the floor, and the kitchen is gone. I walk through it like a coroner. The pass is a black bone. The pendant lights are puddles. My knives, most of them are slag. I find one I recognize by the horn of the handle. The blade is warped. I leave it. The photograph of Marcel is on the office wall. The frame is melted at the corners. The glass is cracked. The paper inside is half black, and his face is untouched. He looks back at me out of the wreckage with the same mild disappointment. The fire that destroyed me did not destroy him. That is when I flinch. It is small, it is in my shoulders, and nobody sees it but me. For 1 second, I am not the chef who refuses to break. I am 23 and standing in his kitchen in 2 big whites being told, very gently, that I am too loud and too much, and that I will burn out before I am 30. I stand there with the photograph in my hands. The corners are warm. I put it down. I put it down on the half-collapsed pass, beside the slag of my knife, in the ash. I do not break the frame. I do not throw it. I set it down the way I set the cruet down, gently, and I turn my back on it, and I walk out. In the alley, Matthias is waiting. His coat is gray with ash, his face is gray with ash, and his jaw is smeared with it. He is bleeding through the bandage Lena and I tied around his ribs 3 hours ago, because something in there did not heal the way the rest of him did, and he has not mentioned it. I look at him.
I'm going to kill whoever did this. Are you going to help me, or are you going to get in my way?
He looks at me for a long second.
I will help you.
Good.
With one condition.
Tell me.
You let me protect your body.
I almost laugh. I do, a little at the back of my throat.
You can protect my body. I'll be doing the rest.
Behind us, a beam falls. The photograph of Marcel goes under it, somewhere I cannot see, and I do not look back. Chapter 10. The Price of Staying. Dawn is gray through the broken windows. I have not slept. My voice is sand. We are standing in the wrecked shell of my kitchen, the two of us, and I have walked him into the corner where the back office used to be.
Tell me. All of it. Right now. You don't get to help me hunt anything until I know who I'm hunting and what they want and what you did to make them this way.
He looks at me with that careful face, and for the first time I watch the careful face break a little.
There was someone. A long time ago.
How long?
Long enough. I do not measure it in years anymore.
What were they to you?
He looks toward the place where my office wall used to be. There is nothing there now but black ribs of wood and mourning.
Matthias.
His throat moves.
Everything I had at the time. I made them what I am. I taught them. I loved them. They were brilliant. They were also becoming something I could not let them become.
Becoming what?
Possessive. Cruel. They believed love had to be proven through suffering. They began to prove it on people who could not say no. I told them to stop. They did not. I told them I would end them. They did not believe me. And I thought I had ended them. Centuries ago.
You thought?
Yes.
What did you say to them at the end?
He looks at me.
No.
Tell me.
Bianca.
I am standing in my burned restaurant with ash in my mouth. Do not protect me from a sentence.
The first crack is wider now.
I said, you always burn what you love.
The card on the cutting board, the night the rose appeared, in my own handwriting, the phrase the creature said in the alley with my name attached. The words do not belong to Marcel. They do not even belong to me. I have been carrying another person's curse in my own hand. I have been looking at that sentence like it was a mirror, and it was a window into a room where two monsters hurt each other, centuries before I ever picked up a knife. For a second, the whole kitchen is too quiet. Then the ruined ceiling ticks with heat, and the world starts again.
They survived.
In some form. I do not know what form. They have been, somewhere, waiting.
For what?
For me to want something alive again.
The kitchen is very quiet.
So I'm leverage.
He hesitates. I hate the hesitation more than I would have hated agreement.
You are.
Just leverage.
His eyes meet mine.
No.
This time the word is not fast. He has to drag it out of whatever old place he put it.
You are also a choice. I made it. I made it the night I stayed in your kitchen and let you cook with garlic and did not leave. I made it again when you held the cruet up to me. I keep making it. I will not pretend I haven't.
I do not answer right away.
You should have told me.
I know.
Earlier. The night the beef was carved. The night I showed you the card. The first night you stood at my window. You should have told me, Matthias, and you didn't. And that is not a small thing.
I know.
If you lie to me again, I will use the garlic.
He nods, slowly. He does not flinch. He does not bargain. He nods. I do not smile, and I do not look away. He is covered in ash and bleeding through a bandage, and standing in a building I built with my own hands and my own knives. And he is here. He has not left. He looks like a man who has nowhere else to be, and also nowhere he would prefer.
Then we hunt.
Chapter 11. The glimpse across the street. The borrowed kitchen is too small. It belongs to a friend of a friend. 3 blocks from my burned flagship, half the size and twice as cluttered. I am working out of it because I cannot stop working. I have a private dinner I will not cancel, and a tasting menu I will not skip, and a body that does not know how to sit still. Lena says this is not the same as coping. Lena says many things. I step out for air. The street is busy, and it is afternoon. There is a delivery truck blocking the lane, and a man arguing with the driver, and 3 women laughing at a coffee window, and a busker doing something acoustic and ugly with a guitar. The world is going on brutally, the way it does after a fire. Across the street, between 2 storefronts, a figure is watching me. Not hiding, not turning away. Standing. They are small, slight. A long coat the color of dust and rose. A tangle of pale copper hair past the waist. A wrist with a thin ribbon tied around it that I notice for some reason before I notice the face. The face is too far away to read. The way they are standing is not. It is the same stillness Matthias has, except wrong. His stillness is held. Theirs is set down. Like someone has placed them on a shelf and they are content to be there. They smile at me. It is a slow smile. Not friendly, not unfriendly, pleased. The smile of a person who has been watching you cook for years and is glad you finally came to the window. I do not call for Matthias. He is around the corner, on the phone with the firm, getting me a perimeter. I do not yell. I do not run. And I look back. I let them see me see them. A bus passes. The bus takes 1 second. When the bus is gone, the figure is gone. I stand on the sidewalk with my hand wrapped around the horn handle of my knife. I have had it on me since the alley. And I do not loosen my grip. The street keeps going, the busker keeps strumming. And I do not tell Matthias. I tell myself it is because I am not sure. I know it is because I wanted to look at them myself first, without him in the way, without his history filling the frame. I go back inside the borrowed kitchen. I put the knife down on the cutting board and almost immediately pick it up again. I do not put it down for the rest of the day. That night, when he asks me if anything happened, I say,
No.
It is the second lie I have told him. He looks at me a beat too long. He does not press. I think maybe he knows I am lying. I think he is letting me lie. I think he is teaching me, without saying so, what it is to wait for someone to come to you. At closing, I unwrap my fingers from the knife and find the horn handle warm from my grip, as if I have been holding a live thing all day. Chapter 12. The Weapon I Became. The industrial kitchen is at the back of an old meatpacking district, in a building that has not been a building for years. The roof is half open to the night. The tile on the floor is cracked. There are stainless tables down the center the length of a bowling alley. The fluorescents flicker on a delay. I bring my own garlic, and I bring the Sunday oil. I bring 4 heads, fresh, in a canvas tote. I bring my horn-handled knife, the second best one since the best is slag in my old kitchen. Sharpened that morning, oiled, wrapped in a clean towel. I bring a smaller paring knife and a cleaver. I bring salt in a tin. I bring Matthias. He is in a clean coat again. He has put himself back together as much as his body will allow. The bandage at his ribs is fresh. He has not asked me to leave the bag of garlic at the door. We come in through the loading bay. We see the shrine before we see them. The far wall is paper, all paper. Menus from every restaurant I have ever cooked in, going back to the first place I was a line cook. Reservation cards from Sable, my flagship, with my handwriting on the back of every one. Photographs of my staff, candid, taken from outside through the windows. A burnt corner of a recipe card I once threw away in the trash by the back door, recovered, taped back together. A note in my hand about a sauce I made for one private guest 2 years ago. White roses pinned at intervals like specimens. And the sleeves, 3 of them torn from my chef's whites and pinned at the cuffs. One is stiff with something black and dried, the embroidery half chewed away. Not the one from the alley. Others, replicas I understand practice. Things dressed up in pieces of me until one could say my name. In the center of the wall, a single black and white photograph of a man with steel gray eyes and a mouth carved from disapproval. They have not just been studying me. They have been studying what made me.
Hello.
It is soft, it is layered, it is exactly as patient as the smile across the street. They step out from behind the long stainless table. They are taller than I expected and smaller than the room. The ribbon is on the same wrist. The hair is the same pale copper. The eyes are amber gold and tilted slightly, and not quite human, not quite anything. Matthias makes a sound I have never heard him make. It is small, it is only one breath, and I hear it.
Tiago, you remember. I wasn't sure.
They look at me.
You are exactly what I thought you would be. Up close.
I do not answer them. I am cataloging the room and the table, the pots hanging from a hook above, the glass, The torch wand I clocked when I came in. The pile of clean dish towels on the corner I will not let be a fire hazard. I will use as a fire.
He would not have let himself want you if you were not.
Their mouth twitches.
No, that isn't fair. I promised myself I would be fair.
Tiago laughs softly.
You are loud, unbending. You refuse to make yourself small. I remember that. I remember being that.
Tiago.
They ignore him.
He loved it until it became inconvenient, until I wanted back, until I said no. Do you say no to him? Does he like it?
I feel the floor shift under my feet, not literally, the way a sentence can shift a floor.
The white rose was not for you. The phrase was not for you. None of it was for you, really. You were a door, a pretty one, a sharp one.
Their eyes move over my coat, my hands, my knife.
He loves what is loud. I was loud first.
There it is, the dark mirror and the pattern. The accusation that lives rent-free in my worst hour. I look at Matthias, he is looking at Tiago. His face is the most human I have ever seen it.
Walk out. Go. Build it again. You can. He will leave with you, or he will stay with me. Either way, you live. I am offering.
I laugh. I cannot help it. It comes up out of my chest like something I have been holding down with both hands.
You don't understand. He's not my weakness. He's my sous chef.
Tiago's face does something complicated. I move. I have been a chef long enough to know that fights are not won by strength. They are won by understanding the room. The room is a kitchen. Kitchens are mine. I uncap the cruet of garlic oil and I pour it across the long stainless table in a single thick line. I take the smaller knife out of my apron and I throw it, not at Tiago, into the wall, because I want them to flinch toward the throw. They do. Matthias is already moving by then. He moves faster than I have seen him move, faster than the alley, and when Tiago turns back, the table is on fire, because I have lit the line of oil with the torch I lifted off the corner table, and the whole length of stainless is burning bright and low, and the smell hits the room hard. Matthias staggers, the garlic in the air, and he keeps going. Tiago does not weaken the way I expect. They drop, almost crawling under the smoke, and come up inside Matthias's reach with a shard of broken steel. I did not see them take. The blade goes into his side, just below the bandage. He makes no sound, I do. Tiago looks at me through the flame, delighted by the sound, and for 1 second the fight could go the other way. Matthias's knees bend, his hand slips on Tiago's wrist, and the shard twists. I grab the nearest pot off the hook and bring it down on Tiago's arm with both hands. Bone cracks, or something close enough. Matthias catches them then, pins, twists, holds, and careful even now, careful with a creature he once loved and once failed to kill.
Don't soften the blade for me.
His voice is rough enough that the words barely make it through.
I won't.
I pour more oil onto his hands, deliberately onto Tiago, both of them. I see Matthias's jaw tighten. He does not let go. He nods. I use the garlic, and I use it like a tool. I use it the way I use heat, the way I use salt, the way I have used everything in this room every day of my working life. The smoke of it goes up, the flame of it goes blue at the edges. Tiago weakens in the smell. Matthias weakens too, and stays. I take my knife off the table. I walk through the smoke. The fluorescents are flickering above us. The air smells like a Sunday in my mother's kitchen and a Tuesday in mine. Tiago lifts their head. They look at Matthias. They open their mouth. To say it, the phrase, the line, "You always burn what you love," the thing that has belonged to them for centuries and has been theirs the way my garlic is mine. Matthias says it first.
You always burn what you love.
Quiet to them, not as a weapon, as a wound he has been carrying, finally let out of the box. Tiago's face changes. It is the only mercy in the room. I drive the knife in. I am precise about it. I have used this knife to feed 500 people in a night. I know exactly how it goes through. I know the angle, I know the depth, and I know where to stop. The blade meets resistance, then slips past it with a small, wet sound that will stay with me longer than I want it to. Tiago exhales. Their body goes very still in Matthias's hands, and then the edges of them begin to loosen, ash peeling upward from skin, hair, ribbon, mouth. A small clean drop in the air, then nothing but gray dust on the steel and a ribbon curled in the oil. Matthias releases what is left. His hands fall to his sides. His knees do not give, but they think about it. The fire on the table dies down because there is nothing left to burn. The shrine on the wall is dark with smoke now. My menus curling, my reservation cards going black at the edges, the paper face of Marcel Browning along the jaw. I stand in the middle of the room, garlic and blood and ash on my coat, knife in my hand, and I look at Matthias. He looks at me.
You stayed.
His mouth moves, nothing comes out at first, good, and let one of us be speechless. At last he says,
I did.
Even when it hurts.
His gaze drops to my knife, then to my face.
Yes.
I look down at the blade. The horn handle is warm. I have never used this knife on a person before. I have used it on so many things that fed people. It does not feel different in my hand. That is the strange part. It feels like the same knife. I think, and I do not say it, that maybe I have never been defenseless. I think maybe I cooked instead of killed because I did not have anything I needed to kill for. I had something now. Chapter 13. The Dawn That Did Not Burn. The flagship is still a ruin at dawn. The smoke has finally stopped rising. The crew has gone for the night. The yellow tape sags. The ash is the texture of cold flour underfoot. I walk through it with the jar of garlic oil in my hand. The Sunday oil, the one from my apartment counter. I went up the stairs first, before he could stop me, and I found it on the same saucer where he had set the clove weeks ago, tucked in the strip of shadow near the sink. The apartment is half gone. The saucer survived. The jar is intact, and I bring it down. Matthias is in the wreckage where the pass used to be. He is bleeding still, very slowly through the wool. His coat is no longer pale. His hair is in his face. He has not asked to leave, and I stop near him. The dawn is the kind of soft pink horizon that I would have made fun of if anyone had described it to me. Smoke is still rising in lazy threads from the back where the dry stores were. He does not burn in the light. He stands in it. His skin is pale where the ash has not touched him. His eyes water, maybe from the smoke, maybe from me, and he does not move. There is a ledge that survived. The marble pass, half of it, a crooked tongue of stone. On it, somehow, against every law that should have applied last night, is the wine glass, the one he held, the one he never drank from, the one that had been on the corner of my apartment counter where I left it the night I told him about Marcel. The glass is empty. There is a fine dust of ash in the bottom. I look at it, he looks at it, and neither of us picks it up. In my coat pocket is a folded cocktail napkin from the borrowed kitchen. On it, in ballpoint and grease pencil, is the first ugly sketch of the new dining room. No photograph of Marcel on the wall. No shrine to a man who mistook cruelty for standards. A longer pass, more fire, a place by the window for herbs, a hook for Lena's ridiculous rolling pin if she wants it.
I'm going to rebuild.
I know.
Not exactly as it was. Better. Louder. More mine.
I know.
It's going to smell like garlic.
I know.
I look at him.
You're going to stay anyway.
He lifts his hand a little, palm up, in the small space between us. I take it. His skin is cold, and the dawn is warming. Behind us, the building creaks, settling, the way an old kitchen creaks at the end of a long night. Somewhere far off, a delivery truck is backing up, and a man is cursing in 2 languages, and the city is being a city, indifferent and busy. For a while we only stand there, then I pull him closer by the hand I am holding. Not hard, just enough. He comes, and his forehead rests against mine. Ash falls from his hair onto my cheek. His breath is cold and uneven, and mine is not much better. He does not kiss me. I do not ask him to. The place where a kiss would go is there between us, sharp and waiting, and neither of us pretends not to feel it. I lift the jar, I open it. The smell hits him like a wound. His shoulders flinch, once, very small, and his eyes water, and his mouth thins, and he does not move. He does not pull his hand away. His forehead stays against mine. I smile. It is the first real smile I have allowed since the fire. Maybe since longer. It is not a kind smile. It is sharp at the edges. It belongs to me. He looks at me. He looks at the jar. He looks at the smile. And he looks, for a moment, terrified. Then he looks like a man who has come home. The sun comes up the rest of the way. He does not burn. I do not let go. I tell myself very quietly that fear is useless in a kitchen. I am, for once, not lying. The wine glass on the ledge holds the light for 1 second more, and then the breeze takes the ash out of it, and the glass is clean.